My first question, Minister, is as the Mayor of Polokwane, what was your involvement in making investments? I understand that there's a structure there, there's a municipal manager, there's people who do the finances and make decisions, but as the Mayor, the buck stops with you really for everything. And so how involved were you and how much did you know about investments in general and in this one in particular? Then, bearing in mind that you're the Mayor and that you have the buck stops with you, I'm making the assumption that you then know quite a lot about what goes on in the municipality, that you make it your job to understand what's happening, and more particularly with the finances. It's important. And so you would have known about this this investment at VBS. And my question is really this. VBS is not a normal bank, it's a mutual bank, or was a mutual bank, in which municipalities were not authorized to invest. And you do in your statement make mention of other investments, Standard Bank, Nedbank, ABSA, investing. Those are proper banks, not a mutual bank. And you were not entitled as the municipality to make investments in a mutual bank. So the investment itself is unlawful. You also say that Ganda Wealth Solutions is not a typical contractor in the strict sense of the word, in that the municipality did not pay them for their services rendered. Well, that may or may not be so, I don't know. I accept what you're telling me. What is clear from the analysis of the money is that they were certainly richly remunerated by VBS for garnering investments and made a vast amount of money doing very little, also paid huge kickbacks, and that's not in dispute. Huge kickbacks to the people who made the investments. So the whole scheme was a cynical, sick and dodgy scheme to defraud the poorest of the poor people, particularly in Limpopo, and is unconscionable. So Ganda is not a charitable organization that does things because of their love of advancing the cause of South Africans. They did it to make dodgy money, and they made dodgy money, and lots of it. Now, it's the dodgy money that's the problem, because all of their money was dodgy money, and you were the recipient of some of that dodgy money. So, you know, my question to you is, why do you say that because they were not paid, they were not a typical contractor? Of course they were. They were just paid elsewhere. And that being the position then, why did you seek personal financial advice from an entity that was in fact doing business with the municipality of which you were the mayor? The head honcho, the top of the pyramid, where the buck stopped with you, and they knew it. So of course they'd be happy to accommodate you because you've seen what kind of investments were being made for them and the benefits that they accrued from those investments. So there is a conflict of interest. And my question is, why did you not see it? Why did you approach them for advice? They're also styled as Ganda Wealth Solutions, Ganda Wealth Management. Who knows what they were and what they did. But what they were not was a registered service provider or a registered financial services provider. And so they were, in fact, not able to just give loans in the normal course of their business. It wasn't the normal course of their business. In fact, very few loans were made. Lots of kickbacks were paid. All of the stolen money was, dissipated. Very few loans were made. Yours was one of the very few. So why would you have negotiated a loan with an entity doing business with your municipality who was not a registered financial services provider? And did you, at any stage, attempt to get a arm's length, proper, ordinary commercial loan from a bank? Your own bank, wherever you bank. Sure, you would have been able to get a loan from your own bank. Why did you get a loan from them? What was so attractive about doing business with Ganda, particularly bearing in mind the extortionate, really extortionate, if your figures are correct in paragraph 27 of your statement, of the interest on a loan of 575,600, you paid interest of 274,399. That's practically 50%. And in fact, it works out to 47%. 47% interest on a loan that, in the bigger scheme of things, is not even huge. Why would you enter into such a one-sided transaction when you could have gone to a real bank and gotten a real loan at a real interest rate? It makes no commercial sense whatsoever, none. And so it makes the whole transaction, forgive me, look exceptionally suspicious. Also, the timing thereof is exceptionally suspicious. Money flows from the municipality to VBS, money flows from VBS to Ganda, money flows from Ganda to the purchase of the coffee shop, all in the space of a very short period of time. It may be a coincidence, but in a long time of operating in the criminal justice system, I've learned to be very suspicious of a confluence of coincidences. And normally, they point to trouble. And I see no reason to have less suspicion about this entire matter. So if you could help me with that. I'm also then interested in the name of the investment group, T5 Investment Group. Where did the name come from? Was it a shelf company? And if not, what does the T5 stand for? Your name is Thembi. Is it related to you somehow? Have you got 5 investment companies? Is that what the 5 is for? I would be interested to know more about the name. Then I'll move off of that subject because I'm sure that my colleagues have questions and will cover it, but I must deal with the glaring current conflict of interest that certainly exists, whether you want to see it or not, Minister, with respect. That certainly exists between yourself and the National Prosecuting Authority. We all remember, some of us more painfully than others, the demise of Advocate Vusi Pikoli as the National Director of Public Prosecutions when Jackie Selebi was prosecuted, and he wouldn't back down. He was instructed to not proceed with the prosecution by the Minister of Justice. He refused to do that because Vusi Pikoli is an honorable man. And he lost his job because of it, much to the absolute destruction of the NPA. Because what happened at the NPA after Mr. Pikoli left could not have happened while he was there. And I think we all know that, and I think you know that too. And he was fired then because there was this supposed breakdown of a relationship between himself and the Justice Minister, who at the time was Minister, I think, Mabandla. Now, if it is so as you want us to believe here, that there's absolutely no possibility of a Justice Minister having any influence over the NPA, and I agree with you, there should be no such influence, and the NPA should tolerate no such influence, none. It's a non-thing, it should never be allowed, but we live in the real world, and we've seen this happen. And so it's not true that the Justice Minister does not have influence over the NPA, even if it's a very subtle influence. Of course you do. And how you choose to exercise it is, of course, up to the Justice Minister. And I've not got any reason to suggest that you've done anything untoward in that regard, and I'm not suggesting it. But perceptions, Minister, are everything. and the public and myself see the justice system as a pyramid. And there's the police, and there's the NPA, and there's the Department of Justice, and then there's you. And you sit at the top of that pyramid. And that's inescapable. It's an ineluctable conclusion that you cannot sit on top of the pyramid while a matter such as this is being investigated. Because it is being investigated. As we read this morning in the papers, the Hawks have executed search and seizure warrants in Polokwane on the office that you occupied. And they're clearly investigating, amongst other things, this transaction. And so there's an inescapable problem there. And there is a conflict of interest. And it doesn't matter how honorably you conduct yourself. It matters that perceptions are everything. And my perception, and I'm sure the perception of the public at large, is that you cannot continue to sit on the top of this pyramid while this matter is pending. So I'd like your view on that. It is a fact. And again, I want to stress this is not personal. It is a fact. It is a perception. It can't be thought away. It doesn't matter how honorably you conduct yourself. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Advocate Breytenbach.